And a very warm welcome to all of you for a very timely and important discussion, which is not taken seriously by most of the people in power, about the role of art and culture in a time of conflict. I'm absolutely thrilled to have Rwanda Akari here from Palestine. We'll be hearing from you very shortly. So just a few contextual remarks from me, and then we'll get on to the conversation. And please be thinking about your questions and observations, because we want this to be a conversation as much as us sitting on a stage, although Rowan's going to walk around as she talks anyway, so there's a slight bit of performance there. I've been asked to say a little bit about me, and I'll be very brief. I work mainly in museums and visual arts, so being in a performing arts context is great, because I love crossing boundaries. I'm a cultural broker based in London, and for the last 5 years been working with the city of Derry, Londonderry, in Northern Ireland as it takes baby steps towards eventual peace, which has been the most rewarding and amazing experience to see how people can begin to work culturally in what is arguably a post-conflict situation. And have become truly passionate about the role that culture does play in all contexts of difficulty, including war. I've chaired the first post-war arts and cultural symposium in northern Iraq, Iraqi Kurdistan, a couple of years ago, which just began to plant some seeds of new ideas about what culture might mean in that region. And more recently this year set up with some good friends an agency called Culture and Conflict, which intends to do what it says on the tin, to ask these questions about where we might go. And of course, conflict is one of the perennial problems of the modern age and throughout history. And alongside global warming and exploding population growth and the scarcity of resources needed for human life, often caused by conflict, and the irreversible pressures of globalization, conflict and conflict resolution is one of the greatest and most intractable issues we as humans must tackle. And all of us here in this room have a role to play in that, and in Decibel gathering more generally. And it's a big question for the Arts Council and for all other agencies that work with ourselves. Of course, conflict we recall most daily with Afghanistan and Iraq and Korea, and the list goes on and on. And in this country, the rioting in England, including in this city, reminds us of conflict being absolutely everywhere in our homes, in our streets, in our communities, in our heads. And more positively, we look to the Arab Spring and the extraordinary courage and kind of interest in bigger-than-self issues that people across Middle East and North Africa have shown in what is now the Arab summer and now set to be the Arab autumn. And it just puts paid to the lie, given that many of those people were very young people, including children, that young people are feral, immoral, irresponsible, and not interested in bigger-than-self issues. It's a lie, and we know it. Young people have so much to give to making our futures, and that includes through culture, as we're about to hear. So we have yet to understand the role of culture in the Arab Spring, but we know that a stage was put up in Tahrir Square, Cairo, within 5 days of the uprising starting. That stage was curated with poetry and theatre and many other forms. We know about the role of graffiti and street art, or beginning to, in challenging it through image. We know about informal performances that were not captured on camera, that challenged. So we've got a lot to unpack from that. And of course, the power of the internet and social networking was huge as well. So we are left in this moment, and today we're planting a seed, and not least on behalf of the amazing Freedom Theatre, which you're going to hear about, and I hope you will feel inspired to support. a global hotspot of answering some of these questions. But just a few questions in planting the seed. How can art and culture challenge, if not break, the cycles of conflict that trap so many on a daily basis in situations of great peril? Can art, culture, and creativity really and truly play a part in the prevention, management, or even resolution of conflict, or play a purposeful role in peacemaking? Can art be a negative rather than a positive force in certain conflict contexts? What is it specifically, what is it in its essence about art that makes a difference? What can art make possible that other efforts, processes, energies, and ideas cannot? We don't know the answer to that. Is too much expected or demanded of the artist in conflict contexts? And how should institutions respond? Must the artist, practitioner, or activist attempt to maintain objectivity or non-alignment or a subjectivity and openly taking sides as an appropriate or legitimate approach to take? We'll certainly be covering that one when Rawan speaks. And when peace is eventually reached, if it ever is, what role does art take then? And how does art itself and practice change once peace is reached? Is there a difference, and what is that? And we know in Palestine we're a long way off. And most of all, how can art and culture be part of the conversation at the tables of power where currently there isn't even a seat, and there really should be, where the politicians have failed us? So, Rawan, it's absolutely brilliant that you're here. Some of you may already know about the Freedom Theatre, but if you don't, you surely must. It is doing extraordinary things with hardly anything in a situation of daily danger and, well, basically horror, I would say. So we're going to move on to Freedom and the Freedom Theatre, and we're just going to show a little movie to kickstart things off, which is called...
Yeah, just I would like to introduce myself.
Yeah, introduce yourself.
Yeah, okay. Everyone hears me? Okay, first of all, I would like to say thank you for everyone who come to know about the Freedom Theatre. My name is Rawan Darkawi, and I live in Jenin, but I work in the Freedom Theatre in Jenin camp as a coordinator of acting school. And I joined this theatre before for 4 years, sorry, and to help the young people who had trauma because of the occupation, because all of us, we grew in, under the occupation, and everyone had a painful story from the occupation. So as a young girl who wants to help the young people and the girls, and to find a new resistance and cultural resistance. So I joined this theater, and also to help the girls to be on the stage, and the girls who live in also under conservative society, so the girls can't express about themselves, to be on the stage, so they can, to give her the voice to express and to say what she wants. And then after the films, I will talk about our work in general. Thank you.
الانتفاضة بالنسبة إلنا أو أولادنا هي قيم أولي الحرية.
بحب أصير ممثلة وبكتب مسرحيات، وبحب أكون كاتبة مسرحيات.
شو حلمي، شو يعني بتمناه؟ إني أصير مشهورة.
اللي هو يعني الممثلة صار منصير، بس أخرج مسرحيات. ممكن يطلع أشياء هون من تمارين إحنا عملناها، نطلع الأشياء اللي كانت مثلا معصبين نطلع بتمرين واحد أشياء اللي كانت عندنا مضغوطة جوا.
أكيد نفرغ طاقات، لأنه لما نكون في الدار يعني لا بنلعب لا بنعمل إشي، حارة ممنوع نطلع، بنات فشة اللي يعني كيف بدي أحكي إنه خاص حارة فش للبنات بس أولاد، يعني بتلاقيش حارة فيها بنات، عشان هيك يعني بيكون لنا فرع هون.
عيب
مسرح الحرية فرع إنه نلعب فيه نعمل إيش ما بدنا.
غير الحارة برضه بالدار ممنوع نتحرك.
لا اسكتي
لا اسكتي اهدي، بتعملي بتخربي.
هم دائما بنات، لا انه بنات بيوت، بنات خلاص انه يتحركوا، فانه حلو انه
ايش طفل رجلي لي في الحمام،
لي في الحمام،
لي في الحمام اهم شيء.
امسحي خبرة غرفة امك،
صفتي غزالتك اهم شيء، صفتي الغزال،
رمي الغسيل،
صفت البنات من بيت اهلها لبيت زوجها على المطبخ، هيك احنا عندنا حتى بيتها لبيت اهلها.
شو اخرتك بالمطبخ؟ اذا انت بتحكي اخرتكم بالمطبخ رح تكون اخرتكم بالمطبخ، بس انا بحكي اخرتي مش شنو.
وتقبلتين وتالت الحرمين وتقبل هذا العمار علينا اليوم.
حلمي انا اصير ممثل.
سندريلا؟ لا يا حبيبتي هذا مش بيت سندريلا، هذا بيتنا احنا. عصافير عصافير.
كبد المسرح بكيت اضلني بالشوارع واروح على الانترنت، اما بس اجى المسرح صرت اتدرب واتثقف شوي واجي على المسرح عشان اصير فنان وممثل، عشان ارفع قيمة المخيم.
استنى برا خليك شوية.
استنى اسمعي، حرمتيني من كل شيء بحبه، من التعليم والقراءة والكتابة وكل شيء، بس العصافير لا مش راح خليك تحرميني منهم.
قالت لك خلص يعني خلص. خلص.
اخوي يوسف سلطان بقى حلمه يكون ممثل كبير وصار ممثل، ويوم من الايام صار الوضع بدي اقول لك يعني ازم الوضع، قال لك الا ما الشهاده احسن،
يعني ما قدروش يكملوا هالموهبه هاي فاستشهدوا، يعني اخوه واحنا يعني ان شاء الله بنقدر نكمل هاي الموهبه نرفعها احنا عنهم.
ونبدأ احمي الوطن إذا قلنا بدنا ندور على التمثيل والثقافي.
وفي غزو ثقافي وغزو عسكري. الغزو الثقافي بيجي أقوى.
بحس حالي الجيش الإسرائيلي بس يشوفونا كبرنا وصرنا ممثلين كبار، بحس حالي بحسوا هم
إنه دمرهم،
إن إحنا دمرناهم.
هم شيء أنا حدا يصير منا مثقف، بدهم إيانا نضل حثالة الشعب، ويعني بقول لك أنا هم الجندي لما بدي يجي هون مش قصده يقتل، قصده إنه يدمر، بدوش حدا يتعلم، بده إيانا كلنا جهال، كلنا نضل تحت رجليهم نشتغل بإسرائيل.
إحنا كلنا، أنا بحكي عن كل، بقى نفسنا نستشهد لما انبنى المسرح صار في شيء نعيش عشانه. يعني هسا أنا بتمنى إني أكمل أموت موت الطبيعي.
Yeah, maybe. Like, I like to walk when I explain. Anyway, sorry. So now I would like to give you more information about our work, what we give for the children, for the children and the young people in Jenin camp. So, and background about the Freedom Theater. So the Freedom Theater has established since 2006. It's a continuation of Stone Theater. Stone Theater was set up by a Jewish woman who came during the first Intifada in 1987. Sorry, I'm not good in the numbers. And who came during the first Intifada to help the Palestinian people because of all the school closed due to curfews. And the Israeli soldiers arrested a lot of teachers and students and put them in jail. So the people left without education. So she felt that the Palestinian people had the right to continue their education. She came with the small materials in the camp, to the camp, and like pens, paper, paints, to give the children alternative education. According to her work, she got a prize in Sweden, Alternative Nobel Prize. And from this prize, she opened a small theater called Stone Theater regarding to the first Intifada. And she could recruit a group from the camp to work with the children, to give them the main aim for this Stone Theater, to give them the space to express about their fear, about their anger, about their depression. So she worked with these children and gave them space, and she succeeded with them. And her son, Giuliano, joined her, and he was the director of this group. So he always used his camera to film the rehearsals and the performances for these children, and documented the work in the documentary film, Arna's Children Film, which this film tells the story about this group of theater. So then you can see in the film that when they were a child and they were performing, acting, and they had fun in this place. And also he continued this film in the second Intifada. So also you can see to tell the story about the real death of this group, because most of them were killed during the invasion. And just one who's still alive, his name Zakaria Zubeidi, and also he became leader of a political party, Kataib al-Aqsa. So this group had a dream to be actors and to be famous, but the invasion killed their dreams, and all of them now became under the ground. And so Giuliano came back to Jenin camp to look after, to look for his group, and he shocked that all the group were killed. So they were killed in the invasion in 2002. So in 2002, about 60 civilians were killed, about 450 were injured. Israeli soldiers surrounded all the camp from all sides. So the people in that time, they lived in miserable situation. Israeli cut all the, didn't allow for the ambulances to go to take the injured. Israeli soldiers cut the electricity, the water, the food. So the people, they lived, this operation continued 13 days. So 13 days, the people, they had no life. Just killing helicopters, bulldozers, and tanks. This is the life for everyone in Jenin and Jenin camp. Just when you open the door, you don't see like nice view. You see tanks. And if you open like to look what is happening, then the Israeli soldiers quickly shoot them. They killed a lot of people, civilians, women, and old men. And they didn't care about who is inside the camp. Also, they destroyed the houses while the people inside the homes. So the people in that way, they lived in tents because this operation left them homeless people. And for the children, it was very hard to accept what is happening here. So the children, like 6 years old, to see his father killed in front of him, to see his mother killed in front of him. So how is the life for everyone? It's like blood. So this is the idea of the children, and this is affected on after this operation ends. So the results for the children, they had bedwetting, they had nightmares, they had aggressive behaviors because this is for them, it's the life, it's only one. And so also the young people had traumas because everyone, what we saw, it's unbelievable. It's a war. And so then Giuliano came back with another guy from Sweden, and also he's Jewish. So, and then opened the Freedom Theater to help these people. Maybe we can make something for them. And we started with them to give them psychodrama and drama therapy workshop to remove the inner conflict, to deal with their problems. And also we expanded our work, so we started to give them a photography workshop, and also for the children and the young people to tell a story about Palestine. And then they go to checkpoints. They take photos about their society, from their society. And in the end, they create book, or they have exhibition to show the people what we have in Palestine. And also we have a cinema workshop. So also the students learn, they create the films by themselves. So they learn in the theater, editing, writing the scripts, and filming, and directing. So they bring the story and they film it, and they show the people, to show the people what we need to change in our life, what we have inside inside our society. Especially we are in conservative society, so some girls can't say to their families that what we would like to change, but they can on the film, they put their stories. We had many problems to take stories from the women inside the society, but in the end, the women want to speak. They want to show the people how we would like to change. And also, we have journalism and creative writing, also to give the chance for the children and for the young people to write what they want also. And they to put their articles and they can express about also what's inside them. And in the end, they create magazine called Voices to give voice for all the Palestinian young people who had no voice. And also we have Acting School. So Acting School, they performed many performances. The first one was Animal Farm by George Orwell. And after we performed this play, so some unknown a guy attacked the theater and burned the theater. And, but even that we continued because it's like critical for the corruption of the authority. But even that we continued. So then we produced, we had the second performance was Fragments of Palestine. The students gathered the story from their society, and because everyone has a story from the occupation, so this is performance tells the story about catastrophe, about occupation, and also about forbidden love in our society. And also we had a third performance, was Men in the Sun. It's an adaptation by Palestinian writer Ghassan Kanafani, and tells the story about the refugees when they dismissed from 48 lands, and when they built the camp, when they started to live in the camp, and they moved to Kuwait and Emirat to find money to help their families. And we had also Alice in Wonderland. This is the last production for our director. And Alice in Wonderland tells the story about Ger. And this is the big challenge in this performance. Like, we had a big challenge. And it tells the story about the Ger. Her family forced her to marry her cousin, but she refused. She went to Wonderland. She liberated Wonderland, and also she liberated herself from this marriage. The main aim for this acting school and for this theater to find a new way for resistance, instead of to go for just to go to the checkpoints, to shoot, to kill. Maybe the people don't know what will happen for that, like just carry the weapon and go to shoot on the, so he will die and no one will hear what is happening in Palestine. So this is a kind of new resistance to find a new challenge and to find a new way to deal with our problems, to show the people what we have in Palestine, how we can deal with our problems, and also to share all outside that, look, who are terrorists? It's not the Palestinian people, as all the people know. Yeah. And to send the message about that we want to change also the conservative society. It's resistance against the occupation and also against our culture, because we would like a girl. So we had very difficult to bring girl, to put her on the stage. It's like the hardest thing. And for the first girl who was on the stage, all the people, when she was walking, like attacked her and said the bad words to her. But even that, because she had a dream and to be an actress, and she succeeded in the end. This is the challenge for the Freedom Theater, and to find a new way to fight, to find a new way to resist. And after Alice in Wonderland, and we had 30 shows, and we succeeded. We brought a lot of people who came to the theater to see this play, and we had successful play. And after this successful work, we had nightmare when our director was assassinated in 4th of April. So he was killed in front of the theater. And so in a brutal way, he was carrying his child while he was in his way to the home, and someone, unknown person, he killed him. So all of us, like, we had like very bad situation. We didn't lose anyone. We lost Giuliano, who opened this theater for us, who changed our life, and who taught us to find a new way for resistance, who did a lot for the Palestinian people. Giuliano changed our life from down to the top. And it's like me, to be here, it's because of him, because all the time taught me how to deal, how to have a challenge. It's so that I started to, okay, I don't care. Okay, I want to continue. I want to help the girls to be on the stage. I want to find new ways for the girls to be, to find a new life for us. So, and after also assassination, we had leaflets against the worker of the theater. And they said in the leaflets, everyone from the theater will be killed if you stay open this theater. And also the people, they said many rumors against the people in the theater. We had very miserable situation. It's like we go to the theater every day. We are afraid maybe the killer follow us. Maybe who killed Giuliano? We don't know. So what will the next for them? And then Israeli soldiers attacked the theater many times. They arrested 3 of our colleagues, my colleagues, and they broke the windows, and in a brutal way also. And they want, okay, to investigate about Giuliano. We would like them to investigate, but not to destroy, because everyone starts to afraid. This is dangerous place. Assassination, leaflets, and Israeli soldiers. And what's happening in this place? But why we continue? Because everyone has a story from Giuliano. Everyone liked Giuliano. So for us, it's not easy also for the people who Giuliano support us to kill him for the second time. So even all the difficulties, even all of obstacles, but we continue. And also after this assassination, we showed the people that we are here. So we had production. After his killing, we had production. It's what else? It's also the students, nearly the same of Fragments of Palestine. Also the students gathered the story from their state. It's talk about internal fight, about Palestinian society in general. And this is, just to prove for everyone that we are here. Maybe, or to show the killer, okay, you killed Giuliano, but you didn't kill his people. You didn't kill his thinking. You didn't kill his idea. Because what we have, but now I am here to show the people also what we have in the theater and what we have challenged and how we want to continue. And also the fourth, sorry, I didn't mention that we have 2 groups in the acting school. So this is the first group. After Giuliano's killing, they had a production. What else? And this is a special group for Giuliano. They today will perform Waiting for Godot. It's like this is the gift for his spirit, that to show the people, okay, we lost Giuliano, but okay, we want to continue in his way. So this is in general about our work. I talked a lot.
Thank you so much, Ryan. We need 75 days, not 75 minutes to have this conversation. We've not long, so we'll move on. If you could be thinking of a question, we'll come back to you very shortly. But to begin with, Rawand, I salute your courage for continuing and not giving up. And I know we discussed earlier, your parents have also supported you in that, when the first reaction would be, given Giuliano was assassinated on the 4th of April of this year, and there have been these continuing attacks on the theatre, and people have been disappeared by those who took them. If members of the board and members of the company have been taken away, your first reaction would be to run, but you haven't. And Giuliano, he was extraordinary, wasn't he? He was just a force of nature. Envisioned the Freedom Theatre as the third Intifada, which he said was a cultural uprising with poetry, plays, theatre, cameras and magazines used to fight back against the violence, a third Intifada. Why is it you believe in this, that you're doing? What is it that makes you carry on day by day despite everything?
I believe that's okay, because in art, it's like this is the best way to deal with our problems. And because I believe in acting, and believe in that when we make like performance and to show the people what we have, this is like a big resistance. And also, instead, like as I mentioned before, it's like to carry weapons and to go. No one will know about us, but we can share all the people what we are doing, and also to help. Like I am again to help myself to take my rights, and I can express about myself, and to help to remove also the suppression, because you know, it's like we live in under occupation, so all the people, like, they had nothing to do in their lives. Just like some people, they steal and they fight with each other. So on the stage, by cameras, they can show the people. It's not only about occupation, but also about what we would like to change in the society. What we have problems, it doesn't mean also all the problems it's from occupation, but also we have problems from community. So this is the cultural intifada, to deal with our problems, to support the poor people, to help the Palestinian people to express about themselves.
Thank you. Anyone got a question they'd like to ask, or a brief question? Yes.
Pip Noel, I'm a visual artist and writer. It's very stilling listening to your tale, because you know about this, but you don't know about it. You don't experience anything of it. But there's so much in there about vision and resistance, but also about risk. And how do the girls, for example, balance that they are stepping outside of what's allowable? The girls, how do they manage to get what you've obviously brought to them, this focus on the vision, resist, but there's risk for them in that, the same as there's risk for you and all of you. How do the young people manage that? It's a big risk for the girls. Do you want to help Peter?
How do the girls, I mean, they're in the theatre, it's one place, but they go home or in wider society. It's difficult for them to do this.
Yeah. In the beginning, when we started to spread the idea of acting, so we need to be theater, and we need the girls for this theater. So for the first year, it was very hard to bring her, and so also she faced problems with her family. How you can go to the theater? How you can to be an actress? It's scandal for us. It's not good. Yeah, because the people in the camp and also in Jenin, so it's like, especially camp, it's isolated camp. It's like the people don't know what's entertainment. And so they just lived under occupation, checkpoints, assassination. So this is the life. This is what they know about it. And for the girls, like, because all the people after the invasion, so they started to be more conservative for the girls, yeah, because they afraid from the soldiers, they afraid from what maybe the soldiers will made something wrong for her. So this is the idea for everyone, like the fathers, the mothers, for everyone in the society. And to be girls actress, yeah, wow, it's like a big deal. How? And also to work on the theater, it's like, you are corrupt the society. This is what the people say to me. Yeah, you are very bad girl. You are very bad, yeah. And also in the beginning, my family, in the beginning, so also, how you can go to the theater? It's like a scandal. You want to make a scandal for for us. What will your family, relatives say? What your neighbors say? So, but we, because everyone, like the girls, because we also have dreams. We have right to continue. We have to be to express about hers. For the girl to be an actress, to achieve her dream. So shall she go to outside to study acting? So this is what we try to convince the family. Okay, come to see the world, and come to see what is happening in the theater, how the theater deal with the girls. And in the beginning, yeah, it was very, very, very hard until we started to recruit more and more and more girls. Yeah, we took long time to spread out, to aware the people what is acting.
Thank you so much for that very deep description. I feel like if I understand. I was wondering, you know, the society before the occupation, did they have theatre? And it's not part of the culture at all, at all. So now that they have theatre under occupation, is there like any kind of international route out to show the people externally what's happening, you know, via something like this? I mean, I know you're here and it's really great to hear your voice. Is there a route out of Jenin with the little group to show people outside?
Mm-hmm. So we had Fragments of Palestine. In 2008, they performed in Germany. And it's like the Wentworth, just some like organization sent an invitation for us, official invitation, that they want to host this group, Palestinian group, outside, so we can go. It depends for the organizations outside, because for us, we would like to show the people to perform outside, but it's for us like Palestinian people, we can't, because it's like we can't move from city to city, so how to travel outside? So to move from like Jenin to Nablus, it's like 1 hour. Sometimes it takes 2 hours or 3 hours. It depends on the soldiers. So we have to live what they think. So yeah, so we would like to show the people, but we need like official invitation. And also one of our students, and this is the big problem. So he was wanted guy in the Intifada, in the second Intifada. And he found a new resistance when he joined this theater. And he liked this new resistance. But unfortunately, they didn't allow to him to travel to Amman. So all the time, yeah, because you were wanted guy. So until when? But he found a new because he wants to find a new life. It's his right to show the people his work, but he can't. So also to go to, he wants to get a visa to America. So he had to go to Jerusalem, but he can't also pass Jerusalem without permission. So then he was refused by Israeli to enter Jerusalem. And then, okay, so we tried to find a new way. Okay, go to Jordan And then, okay, he was also refused to pass Jordan. So he was like so crazy.
It's impossible to overestimate the...
So why?
Yeah. The difficulty of mobility, isn't it?
Yeah.
You were saying earlier that...
So you have to pay all the cost that you were wanted, you have to die.
We take it for granted, don't we? We can jump on a Ryanair and EasyJet. And you were saying earlier that to go from Palestine to Jordan, we could go at 7 in the morning, go through the Palestine border, then the Israeli border, and then the Jordanian border, may get there by 4 p.m. And that's just going that short distance. Europe closing its borders increasingly is just more and more difficult, which is why, as you say, it's great that Ryan's here. And I hope from this and other things that are happening this week,
and also
we can raise attention.
Yeah. And also, sometimes the Israeli side, okay, we want to close the border now. So suddenly they close, and you stuck in between, you know. So sometimes the people had to stay on the border, to sleep there.
Please.
You have obstacles that I can't even fathom between your work and what you're trying to achieve. What I'd really like to know is, what do you think the arts movement in the UK and artists and the individuals in the UK can do to support you? Is there something tangible and something real that we can be doing over here that can actually have a positive impact and support you in the work that you're doing?
It depends on the people. You know, it's, acting school and also cinema depends on the volunteers from outside. But after the assassination, a lot of volunteers afraid to come to support the acting school. Yeah, because assassination, the killer is free, and also many threats for the volunteers who come to help the theater. So the people run away, all of them. You know, I can't blame them. It's like hard situation. Yeah, but we would like from all sides the support, because we would like to continue to help the children and to help the young people to continue our cultural intifada.
We'll come back to your question just before we finish. Just here.
Rani Murthy from Rasa. I'm going to try and do this without breaking down, because so much of what you said affects me in so many levels, and I can identify with it so much. I'm Sri Lankan Tamil, and in 2003, a work that I created here was taken out into the war zone to tour places of my ancestors' land that I would never have visited as a tourist, but I visited as an artist, and met young people there who had only known war. And the play that I was doing was about this whole idea of being a woman in a culture that doesn't honor women, should honor women philosophically, but in practice doesn't. So it was quite a challenging play anyway. So I learned so much from just having an audience that understood, but it was palatable because it came from a familiar stranger, if you see what I mean. I was not one of them, as it were, although I was, you know, so I was still foreign enough to be distanced from it. So my question to you is how your audience accepts these stories. I've been working with Tamil refugees here in Manchester, and so much of their stories is going to be remain buried because they are, in order to survive, need to forget. And I'm struggling with the idea of how to create work that will inform people who don't know what it is, apart from it being in a documentary, The Killing Fields of Sri Lanka, for example. It's very difficult to watch. And how to make that art accessible to my people too, so that something will strike a chord so that the stories don't get lost. How do I do that? And how do you do that? How does your audience deal with fragments from Palestine, for example?
Fragments of Palestine. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. I wish I can show you like a small clip about it. So all the people, when in the opening, when they saw this show, all the people started to cry. You know why? Because because the students, everyone brought his story, so he could to affect about he could to touch the people, yeah, and because like some people lost their fathers, who lost their brothers, who lost, yeah, so they gathered the story and put it, and also when it talks about catastrophe, when the people were kicked out from 48 lands. And so the people, all of them were crying and wanted to support this theater. This theater could give us what we want. It's like touch our feeling. Does it make sense?
It does, and it's interesting when you say that Animal Farm, you end up with the theatre being burned afterwards, which sounds most kind of normal thing. And Julian Schnabel, a week after Juliana's assassination, wrote a really beautiful piece you can search online, an appreciation of him. And he said that in 1 year, with Alice in Wonderland, Johnny Depp reached millions and millions around the world as a piece of entertainment. Juliana said in Jenin refugee camp, Alice in Wonderland was a dangerous piece to do. And so even the most innocuous sounding things, what can you say about Alice in Wonderland? We all love it, especially in 3D in the Johnny Depp version. It is dangerous. And so I think in this there's a level of metaphor that is applied to these contexts where you take one thing and it has a completely different meaning in a different context, which is the beauty of all art, that it can suggest new possibilities even though they seem not.
John O'Donoghue, I'm here with Disability Arts Online. I was very struck by what you said about a Jewish woman and her son being so important in the history of the Stone Theatre and the Freedom Theatre. Does the wider Israeli artistic community support you at all?
It's in the beginning when Giuliano came, and so all the people, because he's half Jewish and he's half a Palestinian. His father is Palestinian and his mother Jewish. But the people know that, okay, he's a Jewish. So because the people were very sad of the invasion, so they attacked the theater many times, and they were against Giuliano. And so that all the people from Israel, they afraid to come. This is man who left Haifa, it's like easy life, to come to be on camp. It's like difficult life. And how? So not all of the people, or the people who would like to support us, you can find some people from Israeli people would like to support the Freedom Theater, but they can't. They're afraid. This is dangerous camp. Yeah, no. So they can't come. It's not all of them, Giuliano. Yeah, but Giuliano stayed. Yeah, and he had many problems. He suffered from the people, but also he was killed in the camp, but with a unknown person. And also we accept like to deal with Jewish people, because we are not against Jewish, we are against army. And I'm against the soldiers who put the checkpoints on my way. I'm against the soldiers who killed my brother. And I'm against the soldiers who come to attack our homes. But I'm not against the Jewish people who don't have anything to do. So yeah, we have some people who come, Jewish people who come from outside, but from Israel, no, they're afraid.
And at Giuliano's funeral, his daughter said something he repeated all the time, that I'm 100% Jewish and 100% Palestinian, and that makes him 200%, and he certainly was. Yeah. Sorry, we had a question. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I've got two quick questions, if that's all right. The first one would be, you talked about like your work being a kind of third intifada, and that being, you know, like kind of cultural resistance as opposed to, if you like, more traditionally political / military resistance to occupation. And the first question would be, do you think that there's a way in which those two forms of resistance relate to each other? Is there a level on which that they kind of they can come together? And the second part of the question would be, is it easier, seeing as if you like, you're fighting on two fronts, on the one hand against like conservative aspects within like Palestinian Arab culture, and on the other hand the occupation and so on, is it easier to fight on those two fronts since the events in March in Tunisia over the last year, you know what I mean, since like the kind of so-called Arab Spring or Springtime of the Peoples or whatever?
What impact has it had? What impact has the Arab Spring had on your thinking?
Excuse me?
What impact has the Arab Spring had on how you feel about the Freedom Theatre in Palestine?
Sorry.
Is that what you were asking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fighting on those two fronts, has it become easier since the Arab Spring?
Yeah. With the uprisings in other areas of the Middle East, have things become easier, or has it inspired you?
Uprising for the...
Yeah, across the Middle East, yeah.
Yeah, it's easy. No.
Easy, no, not easier, but has it changed your thinking?
Yes, for sure. But I'm sorry, it's like if you repeat shortly, yeah, I want to answer, but I can't understand. Sorry.
Sure, yeah. No, I suppose what I'm driving at is like, I have like family connection for the Middle East to Iran, and like over the past 20, 30 years, certainly since the Iranian Revolution, like a certain kind of religious politics has come to dominate the Middle East to an extent. And so my question is it easier to fight the occupation as well as, if you like, conservative aspects of culture since the examples of Egypt and Tunisia and Bahrain and Syria?
No.
No,
I get it.
Hurrah!
In Palestine, everything is it's very difficult because, like I said, it's like we have two occupations, and Israeli occupation and cultural occupation. So it's not easy for us to deal with the. You can't find two sides, Israelis and your conservative society. So, but at least we could change something. It's not like, okay, we can't deal with the problems but we can be patient, step by step. In the beginning, we had no care, yeah, but we have now 4. In the beginning, also, all the people attacked. We couldn't bring audience to come to see the plays, but now we can. In Alice, we had 30 shows. We could to bring people from Akkar, from Haifa, from Nazareth, and this is for the first time. Also from Nablus, for the first time, the people came to see the shows, and so we can to make something, but we need time. So in the beginning, before assassination, we reached to the huge number of the people. We could to make unbelievable situation, unbelievable, wonderful work. But what destroyed our work, it's like nothing, the assassination, the leaflets, the soldiers attack. So this is, but also even that, we opened this theater. We didn't close one day, yeah, to continue, okay, we want to be patient, step by step, we could make, for sure, we will make work.
And looking to the future, Rowan, just imagine this is all gone. What would the theatre do then? If if the occupation was over,
Yeah,
you know, if there was so-called normal
We will
life,
fight each
what would you
other.
do?
We will make a resistance between the people.
Yeah.
It's like, it's amazing if the occupation leaves. But maybe it's like after the people, all the Palestinian people will be killed. This is normally.
But it takes so long. I mean, these are long memories, aren't there? I remember the
Yeah, but we will continue to spread out. Look what we did in under occupation, and to give the new generations our idea, our thinking, how they can also to change their future. This is in the future if the soldiers leave.
that future will come. It's just we don't know when.
Hopefully.
One last question, if we may.
How does the people of Palestine, from your knowledge, how do they feel about art that might be being created, the awareness of the struggle of Palestine, outside of Palestine, around the world? So various art movements that are taking place. How do the people, how do they feel about that? Do they hear about it, and how does that kind of inspire them, or does it, is there some kind of, does it help? And secondly, what's...
Can we just stop there and do that one? Yeah.
Okay.
It's about how people in Palestine feel about their story being outside in the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Is that important?
Yeah, it's very important. Some people were against us in the beginning, a lot of people. Against us, against the theater, against the acting. But when they read the newspaper about how much the people affected of the Palestinian stories, and how the acting, our performances, when was out in Germany, so many people, many volunteers came to, it's not only the theater, but also for all institutions in Jenin to help the Palestinian people. So some people realized, this is the good way to spread, the idea of the suffering of the Palestinian people.
Is the art that's being created around the world, say in the UK or the USA, we know the likes of for example, Loki, the MC whose lyrics you might hear of being, kind of raising awareness. How do the people of Palestine kind of respond, and what advice would there be from yourselves, for example, of what artists from around the globe could do with their art? And does it inspire the people? How does it make the people feel? How do you feel, and the people you work with, when they hear, your young people, for example, how do they hear about the art from around the world of people who are in support of the Intifada and the people and the struggles of the people of Palestine?
Yes. For example, there is somebody who might be making art in this country or in other areas of the world about Palestine and the situation there, and do people in Palestine hear of that work from the rest of the world, or is it? Does it come back in, and is that important?
This is what the people started to aware the people. Okay, look for these people outside and what they are doing, how they support the Palestinian people. But you can't say that all of the people in Palestine they're so interested to know. It's like the people. It's like, okay, just I want to live. I want to find to bring money for my children, to bring money. Yeah, this is because all of them, it's like had very hard life. So I don't care about who wants to support us, who wants because most of them lost their 2 or 3 sons. This is so they don't care about when someone loses dearest person to him. So they don't look who is going. Because I lost I lost dearest person. So I don't care about what is happening outside. I don't care about But some people now started like, okay, it's good that the people outside support us. It means that we are alive. It means that we are human beings. Because in the beginning, that's like, oh, the people outside don't care about us, yeah, because they support the Israeli side. This is the idea in the beginning, but when the volunteers started to come to support and we have money solidarity from the outside, this is that people start, yeah, we are here. That's also people now started to realize what is the life in Palestine.
I've just had the 5 from Hassan, so we're going to have to wrap up soon, but one very last question, please.
I just wondered, do you work with people with disabilities, and what's the status of people with disabilities in Palestine now?
People with disabilities in Palestine, people with physical problems or other issues they face in their lives. Do you work with people with disabilities in the theatre?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And what is their role in broader Palestinian society? Are they have many difficulties?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Let's start with the first one about people with disabilities in the theatre. They work with you?
Disability? What's the word?
Well, like they may have not be able to move very easily, or
Yeah.
in a wheelchair, or they may not hear or see.
Sorry. No, we don't work with. So we don't have this targeted group in the theater, but we would like, it's like. I remember one girl who also she's handicapped. She wanted to come to the Freedom Theater, and she wanted. She's a playwright, and she wanted to join this theater. But what's the problem? It's also the people surround her. Yeah, don't go. Maybe this is dangerous people, and don't go. But unfortunately, we don't have this targeted group because, it's like if they want to use camera, they have to go to the borders. They have to go to the wall, and also on the stage, that they have to move all the time. It's like in Alice, we have a lot of movements. So, but we didn't like this. We welcome if anyone would like to join the Freedom Theater, but the only one who wanted to join the theater, but unfortunately, she couldn't because of her society.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
About how to support. It's been really frustrating because we seriously could be here for days, and this is a very complex and ambiguous story, and the inspirations that come out of the Freedom Theatre are many. And do, if you get the chance, look at some of the films which are on YouTube and available via the website for the Freedom Theatre. Just a couple of very immediate things. Tomorrow evening, I know you're here, but in London at the Free Word Centre, we have another colleague of yours who I've just told Rawan got married just a week ago. You didn't know about this. Ahmed Alaraj, who's going to be showing some of the short films and the amazing film Anna's Children tomorrow evening, hosted by the new director of Free Word, Rose Fenton, who, as many of you know, is the co-founder and co-director of Lift, a while back. And Madani Yunus from Bradford, from the Freedom Studios, Bradford.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Madani Yunus, and I'm the artistic director of Freedom Studios, based in Bradford. In March of this year, when we heard the news of Juliana and we heard the news of what had happened at Freedom Theatre, we immediately felt a huge empathy, and I think the ripple of that reality really struck us, as it has this morning, as Rawan has shared that story with us. So thank you, firstly, to Rawan, thank you to Peter. As the artistic director of Freedom Studios, and I felt it was really powerful, Rawan being here, but how could we as a company respond to this moment? And I feel in this week we have that opportunity. On Friday evening at 7 o'clock at Contact Theatre, there will be a moment where all the delegates here at Decibel will be invited to come together for a final moment. And with the support of Decibel, we have been able to organise an event that will allow us to raise money to support what is happening in Palestine and Freedom Theatre, and to use that as an opportunity to show love from all of the artists here in the UK to those artists in Palestine. And hopefully through some of this resource, the work of Rowan Giuliano and his legacy will continue to grow and continue to have the impact it does. I hope all of you here, if you are staying, will come and join us. And if you are unable to attend, please share it with the other delegates. And please do, it's a public event. So any contacts you may have within the region, please do share it with those as well. Just to end with, they have come all the way from Palestine, so I want to share these with you. Rwand has brought these T-shirts with her, a selection of T-shirts that the money raised from these T-shirts will go back again to Freedom Theatre in Palestine. Each T-shirt we are selling for £15 each. We will be selling them today and again on Friday. We welcome the delegates joining us on Friday, and that is really an open invitation to everyone. Again, thank you to Rand and Peter, and thank you everyone. Thank you very much.
I'd like to close with just a very, very brief poem, a piece of art. This is what it's about as well. This is a poem by Seamus Heaney, the Nobel Prize winner, Peace Prize winner, who comes from Derry, Londonderry, and one of the two in the city to win Peace Prizes, the other being John Hume. And this is about hope.
Yeah.
And it's from the Curate Troy, which was written during the so-called Troubles that are continuing as the UK's live conflict site. Derry, Londonderry becomes the first UK city of culture in 2013. It's the 400th anniversary of London going to Northern Ireland under the instructions of James I and forming the plantations or occupation, depending on which point of view you take it. And that's the 400 years ago is where these troubles began, not in the human rights marches of the early 70s. So here from the Curate Troy about hope, and I think it's really important for where you are. Human beings suffer, they torture one another, they get hurt and get hard. No poem or play or song can fully right a wrong, inflicted or endured. The innocent in jails beat on their bars together. A hunger striker's father stands in the graveyard dumb. The police widow in veils faints at the funeral home. History says, don't hope on this side of the grave. But then, once in a lifetime, the longed-for tidal wave of justice can rise up, and hope and history rhyme. So hope for a great sea change on the far side of revenge. Believe that a further shore is reachable from here. Believe in miracles and cures and healing wells. And I really hope for Rwand and the Freedom Theatre and the people of Jenin that a further shore is reachable and that on the far side of revenge. And I really wish, as I know we all do, a really positive future in a difficult situation. So thank you from me too for this really timely conversation. And please do all of you reflect on your role in what you do, because clearly it can be so much broader than what, I know you're here because you're the converted, but theatre more broadly. This is not theatre we're talking about, it's something much larger. What you can do, not just to support the Freedom Theatre, as I hope you will, but to think about what you can do in conflict areas in your communities. And so we do call for a third intifada, a cultural intifada, not just in Palestine, but here in the UK as well. It's long overdue, and there's so much more in terms of cultural resistance that we can do. So take our love back with you, won't you, when you go. But you are around all week, so there's much more you can have in more intimate conversations.
Just like Giuliano used to say sometimes, the revolution must continue. And I always say the revolution and culture and intifada must continue. Thank you very much.